These aren't the stories your mother told you. No, these are the other stories.
Today's episode of The Other Stories is Butterfly Bites, written by Susan E. Rogers and narrated by Erica Ventura.
A tiny green butterfly fluttered around her shoulder, perhaps drawn by the smell of her botanical shampoo. The air shifted slightly as it flitted upwards to her chin. She swatted by reflex when it flew on a straight path to her eyes, and then it was gone. The early evening was cool on her face, her round cheeks coated in a thin film of dew. Pearly shafts of light peeked through the woods and caressed her skin with dappled strokes. Her footsteps echoed off the mist that festooned the trees like garland, and stillness embraced her despite the deep sense of desolation and longing that lingered along this length of road. Aideen loved these evening walks. She walked here every day unless the weather stopped her. This old country road, only a half-mile from her house, had been supplanted 70 years ago by the busy state highway. Now, it was forgotten by motorists and everybody else in town. She was drawn by its silence to relieve the stress of her day and recharge her energy. Working from home as a copy editor for the conglomerate-run newspaper in the city was frenetic and exhausting. She came to a break in the trees and looked over what once must have been an expanse of lawn, now overgrown with 4-foot grass. A yellow butterfly fluttered above the heavy seed spikes for a few seconds, then flew directly toward her face. She jerked her head away as it turned abruptly and drifted off over the grassy tangle. She walked a few feet more to the end of a gravel driveway that managed to maintain a semblance of its former self. The once broad track had become a mere narrow path that spit pebbles onto the road. She usually walked by without a second thought. Tonight, it commanded her attention. Not the driveway itself, but its unseen destination. Whatever lay at the end of the gravel track pulled at her from beyond the meadow of neglected grass with a promise. But of what? Aideen shivered as the sun slipped under the horizon's blanket. The sky showed dusky colors of mauve and deep gold. Soon it would be dark, not the time to explore unknown territory. This adventure required full morning light. Tomorrow was Saturday, and she'd come early. She left the abandoned property behind and headed home. Awake before the sun was up, she sat on the back porch. Steam from her coffee wreathed her brown curls with smoky bitterness. She breathed in the freshening aroma and looked toward the woods. Golden pink rays cast their aura across the few fluffy clouds and ricocheted through the leafy canopy. Yet, shadows wove through the trunks below in ribbons of dark disquiet. She tossed her curls and tilted her chin upwards, ready for an adventure. As she turned the corner onto the abandoned road, trees greeted her with limbs outstretched. At this time of the morning, a strobe of dazzling sunlight streamed between the trunks and branches, blinding and releasing her sight in rapid succession as she walked. She blinked to clear her vision when she reached the meadow. The tall grass waved her onward, and the entrance to the driveway beckoned as the bright morning light reflected from the gravel to her eyes. Stones underfoot rolled her forward with each step. She marched along the path and stared ahead into the sun. A silhouette appeared beyond the grassy moat. A tumble-down house, weathered gray and beaten by time. Aideen's destination was beyond this place, yet its skeleton begged her favor with crippled posture. The second floor was collapsed into the first, and the bones of an inside stairway protruded above the imploded roof. A headless spine angled upward. A bright blue butterfly hovered above its yawning apex. Droopy steps led up to the porch, where broken decking formed a grim hopscotch. Cracked spindles were clenched in place by bowed railings, or, where the railing had vanished, pointed like flippant signposts in useless directions. A faded welcome dangled from one hook and creaked an invitation. A shudder dripped down her spine as she passed the corpse of the house. The gravel groaned with each step, pushed and scraped underfoot, as it hadn't been in decades. The driveway curved behind the house, and she followed along its course. Aideen's mouth popped open with a gasp. Her eyes blinked, and she swallowed hard. Before her, the drive climaxed in a surreal garden barely restrained within a boxwood hedge, parted in the center with a wicker arch and gate. Overgrown vines exploded with crimson roses and glossy green leaves and slithered their way through the wickerwork. She slipped through the gate and gazed across the panorama of an old cottage garden. No gardener had been at work here for decades. Hollyhocks, columbine, delphiniums, lavender. Blooms of every color and hue exploded into grand vignettes or sweet bouquets, naturally flamboyant and gaudy, yet flawless in their portrayal of elemental beauty. Flowers stretched into the sky or hugged the ground, with every possible height in between. Their blended fragrance scented the air. Bees and beetles droned a subliminal undercurrent. And everywhere, hundreds and thousands of butterflies rose in rainbow clouds that swooped and swirled, then lit again to sip nectar from the blossoms. Aideen tiptoed along a slate path, barely visible within a pink-flowered ground cover, toward a wide bricked circle cleared from the towering stands of flower stalks and stems. Her head wagged from side to side, and she repeatedly sniffed the sweetened air. She kicked off her shoes, and silky softness tickled her toes. 4 wooden benches stood equidistantly around the circle with cast-iron birdbaths between them, their shallow bowls shaped like buttercups. Her eyes widened as she twirled to take in every delight, and her lilting giggles rang through the air. Dizzy and grinning, Aideen collapsed on a bench. A lime green butterfly perched on flat stones arranged in the nearby birdbath and sipped at the water. Its wings shimmered as they clapped together in a silent rhythm. She saw the antennae quiver and the bulbous head flick in her direction. A passing cloud momentarily dipped the scene in shadow, and she shivered. When she looked again, the butterfly was gone. Cobbled paths perforated the edge of the circle and led into the flowers. Aideen decided to follow the nearest to see where it led. She parted the tall stalks with both hands and stepped onto the trail where she tripped straight away over a stone and fell headlong to her hands and knees. She pushed herself up and stared at the stone, which wasn't a stone at all. A fuzzy gray ball, the size and shape of an overgrown coconut, lay on the ground in front of her, its surface covered with a gauzy gray coating. She tapped it with her fingernail. A hard shell beneath the fuzz echoed with a hollow thud when she thumped it. A nudge of her foot sent it rolling across the path and into the undergrowth. Another few steps, and another fuzzy ball. Then another, and another. Aideen shrugged her shoulders and walked along. Flowers guided her on through the leafy corridor until she reached another clearing, this one smaller, barely 5 feet across. The grass was littered with the gray balls. Huge blooms swayed on supple stalks around the perimeter and hurled wavering shadows to the ground. She squinted into the bright sky. A dozen red-orange butterflies flew above her in squadron formation. One swooped down, hovered for a second above her head, and then landed on her left wrist. She held her breath with a smile as she raised her arm in measured slowness until it was at nose level. Aideen peered at the golden iridescent eyes and felt the smooth warmth where the body lay against her skin.
Ow!
She jerked her arm away. The butterfly darted off. Aideen winced as she touched the spreading red welt on the back of her wrist. A bright red dot punctured the center. She spit on her right index finger and smeared it on the lump, shook her arm again, and clamped her palm over the bite that burned from the inside out. Tears welled in her eyes. Her heartbeat banged against her chest and pulsed loudly in her ears.
Butterflies don't bite!
She cried out at the growing winged cloud 10 feet above her head.
Butterflies are supposed to give kisses!
She sobbed as the pain grew more acute. She rubbed the rough surface of the wound. A tiny web of fine gray fibers spread over her wrist. Minuscule thready fingers seeped outward as she watched, unable to turn away, until a fuzzy gray gauze bandaged the spot. The pain was excruciating. Occupied with her wrist, Aideen didn't notice the butterfly that landed on her shin.
Yow!
Aideen slapped at her leg. A blur of yellow zipped into the air. A slender gray filament oozed from the bead of blood at the center of the new bite. She looked up to see pale blue wings about to light on her cheek. She twisted away and ran. Aideen careened through the passage into the clearing. Swarms of butterflies waited at every birdbath and rose into the air as she sprinted for the path. A quivering rainbow covered the wicker arch. Shimmering iridescent eyes leered in her direction.
No!
She crashed through the gate. Her breath came in whimpered pants as she reached the derelict house. A bright blue butterfly hovered near the porch, waiting for her. The welcome sign plummeted to the ground and exploded. A splinter pierced her foot. She half limped, half skipped past the overgrown lawn until she hit the pavement.
Ah!
she howled with the impact to her injured foot. Tears blurred her vision. Her breath came in short bursts, stoked by sobs that urged speed to her hobbled pace. Aideen staggered home to her driveway. She stumbled up the front steps, fell into the house, and slammed the door. A turn of the deadbolt, and she collapsed to the floor. Her wrist and leg throbbed and stung. Her body trembled from the inside out. She wept in breathy puffs. At last, her breathing controlled and eyes wiped dry, Aideen sat up and examined her arm. Fuzzy gray gauze covered the top of her wrist and extended up the back of her hand. She tapped it, and hardened shell echoed underneath. She checked her leg. A swath of gauzy film adhered to her shin. A moan escaped from deep within her gut while her muscles contracted. She scratched and yanked at the threads on her wrist, plucked them away to reveal a scab of hardened gray plaque. She tore at the gauze on her leg, rubbed and scraped with her nails at the tough lesion. The veneer resisted with no sign of the assault. She stripped on the dash to her bedroom, her clothing strewn along the hall. At the mirror, she twisted and turned, stretched and bent. She grabbed the hand mirror from the vanity and studied her back. Her fingertips searched through her hair and inside her ears. She fell back onto the bed and covered her face with her hands. No more spots. A long, relieved breath echoed through the room. A faint tap brushed the window. Aideen jerked her head. She limped to the glass and a whimper slipped from her lips. The sun glimmered from the wings of a single white butterfly that fluttered across the sky and lit on a dandelion. The antennae quivered and the head turned. A flash of light flared from shimmering iridescent eyes and pierced the glass. Aideen collapsed to the floor. Keening sobs bubbled from her lips. An orange butterfly hovered at the window, antennae quivering.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode of The Other Stories. Butterfly Bites was written by Susan E. Rogers, narrated by Erica Ventura, produced by Karl Hughes, with music by Briley, Christopher Oxley, and Tom Robson, and sound effects provided by freesound.org. The episode illustration was provided by Matt Seth Barnes. Joshua Boucher is our story programmer. Jasmine Arch manages our community. Mary Pastrano helps orchestrate the chaos, and the show would collapse into static and screamed without the ongoing work of Karl Hughes, Georgia Triantafyllopoulou, and James Barnett, aka Jimmy Horrors. Susan E. Rogers lives in sunny St. Pete Beach, Florida, transplanted from Massachusetts. Her move was the catalyst to focus on her lifelong ambition to write. Her other interests include genealogy and psychic spirituality, often twisting these into her writing. She's published 2 speculative non-fiction books and an occult thriller. The Supernatural Mystery is under contract for release in 2024. Starting in 2020, her short fiction has been published in print anthologies and several literary and genre magazines. A complete listing of her work is found at susanerogers.com. Erica Ventura is an artist, mother, bilingual narrator, and a painting instructor. How does she manage it all? No idea, but her artwork can be seen on Instagram at @EFEENTU, or you can visit her artist page at facebook.com/bioartsy. The Other Stories is a production of the Story Studio Hawk and Cleaver. and is brought to you with a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial No Derivatives license. That means don't change it, don't sell it, but by all means share the hell out of it. Until next time.